Comedy doesn't age well, nor is it meant to. Think about your favorite comedy growing up. For me, that was The Birdcage.
Whatever I am, he made me. I was adorable once, young and full of hope. And now, look at me. I'm this short, fat, insecure, middle-aged thing.
I made you short?
Now, I still love The Birdcage, but if they made this movie in 2023, they probably wouldn't have a straight guy play this character.
What did you think?
I think you look like Lucy's stunt double.
No, I'm a combination of Lucy and Ricky.
That doesn't mean that The Birdcage is a bad movie or that we should cancel The Birdcage. The point is that comedies, even when they were groundbreaking at the time, rarely age gracefully.
Which is why you might be surprised to find a 64-year-old movie on the top of AFI's 100 Funniest Movies of All Time list. So, can a comedy that came out 64 years ago have any chance of possibly holding up?
Is Some Like It Hot worth your time? Is it even still funny? Well, that's what I'm going to try to figure out here in this video. As always, I'm going to be talking about why this film is important, potential deal breakers, and what it does well. Let's do some quick table setting. Some Like It Hot is a 1959 screwball comedy directed by Billy Wilder, starring Marilyn Monroe, Jack Lemmon, and Tony Curtis. Interestingly, Some Like It Hot is actually a remake. The original is a 1935 French film called Fanfare of Love. That was then remade into a German film called Fanfares of Love, which was then remade into Some Like It Hot. The plot is pretty simple. Jack Lemmon and Tony Curtis play two broke musicians who are fleeing gangsters in Chicago after witnessing the Valentine's Day Massacre. Fortunately for them, there is a gig available, but there is a problem.
What kind of a band is it anyway?
You gotta be under 25.
We could pass for that.
You gotta be blonde.
We could dye our hair.
And you gotta be girls.
We could. No, we couldn't.
Popular during the golden age of Hollywood, the screwball comedy genre is often seen as a way that filmmakers and creators got around the strict censorship of the era. Sure, you couldn't make a movie explicitly about sexual harassment of women, but you could make a movie where two men cross-dress as women and then get sexually harassed.
Up to Daisy.
Now, this film is also important because it's Billy Wilder's best comedy, and it's also Marilyn Monroe's best movie. It's hard to talk about what this movie does well without also talking about potential deal breakers. As you can imagine, that has a lot to do with Marilyn Monroe. In doing research for this video, I found an article by Roger Ebert from 2000, which is frankly the horniest thing I've ever read in my entire life. How did this happen? Tell me, please. Let me know how this happened. The movie in general is very horny. I mean, just like, look at these scenes.
Am I seeing straight?
I'll say.
By the way, that horn is constant in this movie. Now, if you'll allow me to go into serious corner for a minute, this was a very dark period in Marilyn's life. She had just had a miscarriage, and she took on this role as a way of trying to move on. Unfortunately, during the filming of this movie, she had another miscarriage. Her life was just falling apart while making this film. Now, I want to also be clear here that Marilyn is putting in a really excellent performance. She is one of the main reasons why this movie is so watchable. She's funny. She's charming. She plays an idiot so well. It's almost impossible to find another actress that could do what Marilyn Monroe does successfully. She is one of one. However, this isn't really Marilyn's movie. This is Jack Lemmon and Tony Curtis's movie. It's about them.
If this movie was made in 2023, you'd be damn sure there'd be more from Marilyn's character's perspective.
But instead, we focus on these two broke, horny musicians, one of which I personally find incredibly insufferable.
Baby, I'll make it up to you.
You're making it up pretty good so far.
As soon as we get a job, I'm going to take you to the swellest restaurant in town.
Now, this is by design. Tony Curtis's character is meant to be unlikable. He's a loser. He's a gambler. He hits on women and manipulates them. All of these things were funny in the 50s, but I personally didn't find it very funny.
I wonder how much Sam the bookie will give us for our overcoats.
Sam the bookie?
nothing doing. You're not gonna put my overcoat on a dog. Oh, you...
Look, Jerry, I told you it's a sure thing.
We will freeze. It is below zero. We'll get pneumonia.
Look, stupid, he's 10 to 1. Tomorrow we'll have 20 overcoats.
Joe...
But this is what makes Some Like It Hot kind of interesting to talk about. Although Tony Curtis's character is my least favorite part of the movie, there are still scenes that are funny with him in it. Like, my least favorite sequence is one where he pretends to be a millionaire to seduce Marilyn Monroe, and he sneaks onto a boat that isn't his. And I don't really find this scene very funny, like the setup, but there are bits in this scene that I just found myself laughing at.
Would you like a glass of champagne?
Love it. Which way? Oh, you have an upstairs and a downstairs.
Yes, that's the hurricane cellar. And another nice thing about this yacht, lots of closet space. Now, let me see. Where do you suppose the steward set it up?
One other thing I like about Tony Curtis's performance is the voices he does. He definitely has the best woman voice of the two of them.
Hello, Mr. Polyakov. I understand you're looking for a couple of girl musicians.
And that millionaire voice is just the most absurd thing I've ever heard in my life.
That summer, we spent our vacation at the Grand Canyon. We were standing on the highest ledge watching the sunset when suddenly we got this impulse to kiss. I took off my glasses. She took off her glasses. I took a step toward her. She took a step toward me.
Oh, no.
Yes. 8 hours later, they brought her up by mule.
I don't know if you could try to sound that ridiculous. It feels unintentional. I think it's now time to talk about Jack Lemmon's character. Probably my favorite part of this movie. I think Tony Curtis explains it best.
I got really nervous dressed up like a woman. I didn't like it. I felt awkward. And Billy Wilder would laugh himself silly as I came out. Very prim, very proper, very made up, beautiful, but very aloof. Jack Lemmon, on the other hand, was like a $3 pretzel. You know, he just loved the idea to dress up in women's clothes and prance around.
I'm not sure what the $3 pretzel metaphor means, but Jack Lemmon is clearly having fun in this role. He's all in on dressing up like a woman, and his character is too. By far my favorite subplot is one where Jack Lemmon gets wooed and hit on by a millionaire played by Joey Brown, who's just completely taken by Jack Lemmon's kind of ugly woman. It's so good. It all culminates in like this scene, which is just unbelievable.
Everything under control?
Have I got things to tell you?
What happened?
I'm engaged.
Congratulations. Who's the lucky girl?
I am.
I don't want to spoil the rest of this scene for you, but just know that it keeps going and going and going, and it's so good. It's so good. A lot of old comedies relied on actors mugging to the camera and making funny faces. Jack Lemmon is a master at this.
You know something, Mr. Finley? What?
You're dynamite.
You're a pretty hot little firecracker yourself.
Perhaps the most interesting thing about this movie is how it used its cross-dressing plot line to talk about sexual harassment in an era of extreme self-censorship. The dudes in this movie are so creepy to our two leads. It's relentless.
Well, I'm working the night shift and I got a bottle of gin stashed away, and when there's love...
Don't you think you're a little young for that, Sonny?
Oh, you want to see my driver's license?
After just a couple days of this, our two leads start to lose their minds.
Dirty old man.
What happened?
I just got pinched in the elevator.
Well, now you know how the other half lives.
Look at that. I'm not even pretty.
They don't care, just so long as you're wearing a skirt.
Scenes like this really show why the screwball comedy genre existed. In the Hays Code eras, there was so much you couldn't say on screen. They had to couch it in comedy to make it palatable for censors in the Hollywood system. Few folks were better at navigating the Hollywood system than Billy Wilder. Wilder might be the best writer-director that you've likely never heard of. On top of Some Like It Hot, he also made a bunch of other all-time Golden Age classics, like The Apartment, Sunset Boulevard, and Double Indemnity. Wilder would never shoot coverage, instead opting to only shoot what you see on screen. On top of this, he would supposedly yell cut precisely when he wanted the camera to cut in the finished film. He did all of this to make it incredibly difficult for meddling studios to turn his footage into anything that he didn't want. It's honestly brilliant. Wilder was particularly good at revealing information in interesting ways. How did the bad guys see through our hero's disguise? Well...
Hey! Join us! What's the matter with those dames?
Maybe those dames ain't dames. Same faces, same instruments. And here's your Valentine's card.
The 2 musicians from the garage.
It's not just that they saw bullet holes in their instruments. It's that while trying to climb down to escape the bad guys, they run into the bad guys accidentally. It's levels of humor and irony that all come together in a very cohesive, almost invisible way. The movie is full of details like this. And, in case it wasn't already obvious, Wilder was a master of dialogue.
You must be quite a girl.
Want to bet? You play the market?
No, the ukulele. And I sing, too.
I tell you, I will never find another man who's so good to me.
So, should you watch Some Like It Hot? Is it worth it in 2023? I'd say yes. Although parts of the comedy haven't aged particularly well.
Am I seeing straight?
I'll say.
Some Like It Hot keeps most of its laughs intact. It's a brilliant, smartly written movie with 3 standout comedic performances at the center. Plus, it has maybe the best closing line in all of movies.
Osgood, I'm gonna level with you. We can't get married at all.
Why not?
Well, in the first place, I'm not a natural blonde.
Doesn't matter.
I smoke. I smoke all the time.
I don't care.
Well, I have a terrible past. For 3 years now, I've been living with a saxophone player.
I forgive you.
I can never have children.
We can adopt some.
But you don't understand, Osgood. I'm a man.
Well, nobody's perfect.